The UEFA Champions League draws for the round of 16 are officially out. And guess what? As pretty much expected and as predicted twice on the Football Tribe UG channel by yours truly, Robert Kesakos, is that Manchester City were drawn against Real Madrid. I don't know how many times these two are meeting over the last couple of years because it's becoming more often than not. Do you remember those days when Arsenal were either drawn against Bayern Munich or Barcelona? Well, that must feel the same for Manchester City fans because they can never escape Real Madrid. Win or lose, it is always Real Madrid. Anyways, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. In case you do experience some little bit of background noise, it is raining outside there. But, guys, the UEFA Champions League round of 16 draws are out. And, unfortunately, contrary to my predictions, I only got one right for the round of 16. I don't know if the gods were working against me or working for me, but whatever the case is, here are the round of 16 draws as has been conducted by UEFA. Chelsea will be up against PSG, a team that they thumped by 3-0 in the finals of the FIFA Club World Cup over the summer of 2025, and therefore it means that PSG will be looking to plot the perfect revenge against this Chelsea side. Will they be able to overcome them? Only time will tell, because Liam Rossigna, formerly at Strasbourg over there in the French League One, is one of those managers that had a knack for getting one over Luis Enrique at PSG. So a very interesting draw there. Then Liverpool have been drawn against Galatasaray. This one's knocked out Juventus, even though they looked far from it in the return leg that in which they got beat by 3-2 after extra time. So we're talking about the PSG side on the other side that knocked out Monaco. I think that was a 5-4 on aggregate in the playoffs. So Liverpool have Galatasaray to play. Real Madrid, like I've told you, have been booked against Manchester City. But we'll come back to that fixture in just a bit. In the other fixture, Bayern Munich have been drawn against Atlanta in as far as the UEFA Champions League is concerned. And then on the other side, Newcastle have been drawn against Barcelona. You remember these two sides met during the league phase, as did Manchester City meeting Real Madrid in the league phase back in December, and Man City went on to win that fixture by 2-1. Nico O'Reilly on the score sheet, as well as brought Erling Haaland's late penalty. In that game, won Man City the game at the Santiago Bernabeu by 2-1, while Rodrigo Goes at the time had scored what had been the equalizer for Real Madrid. And then on the Barcelona-Newcastle game, these two sides met in the league phase, and Barcelona went to St. James's Park and won that game, I think, by 2-1. Then Atletico de Madrid have been drawn against Tottenham Hotspurs. Yes, Tottenham Hotspurs have drawn Atletico de Madrid. And then Bordeaux Glimont have been drawn against Sporting Lisbon. Bordeaux Glimont, that small team from Norway that has been making wonders, beating up against Man City, Atletico de Madrid, beating Inter Milan home and away in the playoffs to get to this stage of the competition, have been drawn against Sporting Lisbon. While Arsenal, who finished at the summit of the UEFA Champions League phase, have been drawn against Bayer Leverkusen from the German Bundesliga. Remember, Arsenal have a player on loan from Bayer Leverkusen, and that is Piero Hincapié. So now, in the way these draws have been conducted, of course, once the draws at the round of 16 are drawn or made, we have a preset path for what would lead to the finals, respectively, depending on who goes through from where. So we'll start it off like this. Between PSG and Chelsea, whoever advances will meet whoever goes through between Liverpool and Galatasaray. And there is a possibility, at least in my gut feeling deep down there, that we could see a Liverpool versus Chelsea kind of quarterfinal, kind of meet-up, because it wouldn't be the first time. I think we saw it, some many years back. I think around anywhere between 2007 and 2009, thereabout. So then, between whoever goes through between Real Madrid and Manchester City, at the quarterfinal will meet whoever goes through between Atlanta and Bayern Munich. Guess what? I do have a feeling that we could see Manchester City versus Bayern Munich at the quarterfinals. Yes, you had it right. And then whoever advances from there goes to the semi-finals to meet whoever advances between PSG, Chelsea, Galatasaray, and Liverpool at the semi-final level. You get that point. And then on the other arm of the competition, whoever advances between Arsenal and Bayer Leverkusen will meet between whoever advances between Sporting Lisbon and Bordeaux Glimont. Bordeaux Glimont have been the surprise package of the season so far. Will they continue with the same story? Will they continue with their immaculate story? Only time will tell. But Arsenal will have to be worried of Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen have still 3 grown through the competition. They may have had to go through the playoffs, but they have still 3 grown through the competition. And then whoever advances between Newcastle and Barcelona will meet whoever advances between Atletico de Madrid and Tottenham Hotspur. You remember when I was talking about these draws and I told you that the biggest prayer for majority of these clubs would be to avoid facing a team with whom they play in the same domestic league. Now, given Tottenham's recent form and the departure of Thomas Frank, despite the problems or challenges that Diego Simeone faces at Atletico de Madrid, I do suspect that we could see an all-Spanish quarterfinal between Atletico de Madrid and Barcelona. Those two have already had an engagement in the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, in which Atletico Madrid won the first leg by 4-0. And the second leg is slated for next week, I think, on the 4th of March. That will be when? Tuesday? I think on Tuesday. So keep your eyes peeled on that. And then whoever advances between, like I've mentioned, between Arsenal and Bayer Leverkusen will meet whoever advances between Sporting CP and Bordeaux Glimont. Now, as an Arsenal fan, or the Arsenal fan in me, wouldn't want to meet Sporting Lisbon. But also given how Bordeaux Glimont have behaved in their last 4 UEFA Champions League games, I wouldn't be praying to meet them. But anyways, I do hope that Arsenal can get the better of Bayer Leverkusen. But if you're Arsenal, I think that's a little bit of a good path that you get to avoid teams like Real Madrid, teams like Bayern Munich, teams like Manchester City, teams like Chelsea, teams like PSG, teams like Liverpool, teams like Galatasaray at any level whatsoever until at least the final. That's if you can fight your way through there. Now, on face value, it is easy to predict that Arsenal could meet Barcelona at the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. This year, last season, Arsenal met a Spanish La Liga side in Real Madrid at the quarterfinals, and they got the better of Real Madrid, beating them home and away 5-1 on aggregate to advance. But Barcelona has always been a bogey side for Arsenal. The last time they met in the competition, they beat Arsenal. You remember, I think 2009? No, 2011. Barcelona knocked out Arsenal. Prior to that, I think there had been another moment, either 2009 or sometime prior to that. Lionel Messi was a nightmare. You remember that game in which Arsenal beat up against Barcelona by 2-1 at the Emirates Stadium before going to lose on, was it 4-0 or 4-1 at the Camp Nou? Well, there's also another meeting during the Luis Suarez era in which I think it was Mohamed El Neni who scored for Arsenal as they lost to Barcelona, I think by 3-1. For Arsenal fans, I'm sure some of those memories could be fresher in your minds or in your memories than I. But you can sort of draw some comparisons. So anyways, for me, it's a very interesting draw and very intriguing. But if you're Arsenal, you have no excuse not to get to the semi-final, at least once again. Last season you were there, you lost to PSG, but given the kind of path that you're in, it's not a simple path, but at least majority of the big teams in the competition would be hoping to be in the kind of position you're in. Yes, Sporting Lisbon is one of those teams that give Arsenal a hard time. And the last time I think they knocked them out, I think they needed penalties. But anyways, no, was that against Sporting CP or FC Porto? Anyways, so Real Madrid and Man City, these two guys have met a good chunk of times in recent times. Like I said, they met recently in December and Man City came out on top. Now, last season, Real Madrid knocked out Manchester City in the playoffs of the UEFA Champions League. Real Madrid won the first leg by 3-1 before beating Manchester City by 3-2 in the reverse fixture. So they advanced to the round of 16 and then eventually met Arsenal at the quarterfinals. Now, when you go back to the 2023-2024 campaign, Manchester City and Real Madrid still met at the quarterfinals of the competition, and Real Madrid got the better of Man City, but on post-match penalties, because it was a 4-4 draw after both legs, and Real Madrid went through 4-3 on penalties. It was 3-3 at the Santiago Bernabeu and 1-1 at the Etihad Stadium, which is where the penalties happened. When you go back to the 2022-2023 campaign, Real Madrid got knocked out by Manchester City. Manchester City thrashing Real Madrid by 4-0 in the reverse fixture at the Etihad Stadium, while they had shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw in the Santiago Bernabeu. That's the same campaign when Manchester City went and beat up against Inter Milan in the finals by 0-0. That goal scored by Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante, or Lodri, in the final for Manchester City to win their first ever UEFA Champions League title. Now, when you wind things further back a little, in the 2021-2022 UEFA Champions League season, the two sides still met at the semi-finals. And you all remember, Real Madrid advanced at the expense of Man City because it was 6-5 on aggregate. Man City beat Real Madrid 4-3 at the Etihad Stadium, while Real Madrid won the reverse fixture by 3-1. That year, Real Madrid went to the final. They met Liverpool, and they beat Liverpool in the final to win the 2022 UEFA Champions League final. So, again, you remember that. But their history dates far back even beyond that, because in 2019-2020, the two sides once again met, and Manchester City beat Real Madrid home and away by 2-1 to advance 4-2 on aggregate at the round of 16 at the time. Then, when you stretch things further back, you remember Manuel Pellegrini's final season with Manchester City, 2015-2016? Before Pep Guardiola comes in for the 2016-2017 season, at the time Pep Guardiola was still with Bayern Munich. Yes, well, the two sides met, and it was a goalless draw at the Etihad Stadium before Real Madrid won by 0-0 in the reverse fixture in the semi-finals for them to advance to the finals of 2016. You remember 2016, Real Madrid met Atletico de Madrid in the finals? Yep. And I think they won that one as well. So then you have to go back. Their first time of meeting was at the group stage during the old format of the UEFA Champions League, and that was 2012-2013. Roberto Mancini, I suspect, was he still with the club? I think so. Man City shared the spoils with Real Madrid in a 1-1 draw at the city of Manchester Stadium, or the Etihad Stadium, while Real Madrid had beaten up against Man City by 3-2 in the early fixture. So this is a very interesting fixture, and I do suspect when Pep Guardiola speaks to the media ahead of their game against Leeds United tomorrow, I think at 8 p.m., he will be saying, well, it's Real Madrid again. It's a tough opponent. We'll have to face them, but a very, very interesting draw. Very, very interesting draw. And for you, what are your predictions about this round of 16 fixtures? Give me your predictions quickly in a snapshot. PSG versus Chelsea. Who do you think will advance? Liverpool versus Galatasaray. I've told you I'm going for Liverpool to advance at the expense of Galatasaray. Chelsea, PSG, I'm leaning towards Chelsea, by the way, for some reason, because I've seen a very fatigued PSG throughout the entire campaign. Real Madrid versus Man City, I lean towards Manchester City. Bayern Munich against Atlanta, I lean towards Bayern Munich. So the question is, for you, who are you leaning towards? Barcelona, Newcastle, I lean towards Barcelona. Atletico de Madrid versus Spurs, I lean towards Atletico de Madrid. Bordeaux Glimot versus Sporting CP, I lean towards Sporting Lisbon. That's where I'm leaning towards. But anything can happen between those two sides, as anything can happen between Arsenal and Bayer Leverkusen, even though I'm leaning against Arsenal. Your predictions, your thoughts, your views, down in the comment section. If you're new here, kindly forget not to subscribe to the channel before you walk away. But more importantly, leave me a like, leave me a comment on this very video, and give me what your thoughts are. It's been a pleasure speaking to you guys. Let's do this again next time. Bye-bye for now. Stay blessed.